Call the meeting to order, please, and welcome all of you to the Edenton Town Council meeting regularly scheduled for the month of September. We'll follow our agenda tonight, as is our custom. So at this time, if you would, please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance. After which, Councilman Dave will offer an invocation. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, if you don't mind, we have former council member Gerald Perry here, who's
Absolutely.
Reverend. If you can do us the honor tonight and do the invocation.
Thank you, Gerald.
Thank you, sir. Our heads are bowed. Our Father and our God, as we have gathered here tonight for such business that shall be brought before us, we pray that you will lead, guide, and direct our paths. Give us a clarity of thought. I pray that you guide our minds, and, oh God, that we do what's best for the citizens of Edenton. And we pray that everything shall be done in order. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the privilege.
Couple of things before we move into our printed agenda. First of all, I'd like to welcome back to the administrative team of the town of Edenton, Elizabeth Bryant. As many of you will recall, Elizabeth served this community as our planner several years, and then after her marriage, she began a family, and she chose to be at home with her young children to get them up and running. And now she has decided that the planning job is back on the table. And fortunately for us, the timing was right for both parties. And we now have her back on staff, so welcome, Elizabeth. Secondly, the town of Edenton funds the Edenton Partnership, which is the economic development organization that tries to bring business, industry, and job growth to the local economy. And we have been without an executive director for several months, and have been in the process of seeking a new executive director, and we now have been successful in hiring Mallory Denham. Mallory Denham has joined the Edenton Partnership as its executive director, representing the council along with me on that board are Councilman Quinn and Councilman Stalin. So Mallory comes to us by way of Kentucky. He has a very impressive resume. Has done a lot of work in a variety of fields, all of which seem to fit the Edenton model, if you will, of what our local economy is about. He's worked with state government in Kentucky. He has been the CEO of a family-owned business. He has been the Assistant Director of Economic Community Development in the Buffalo Trace area of Kentucky. And for those of you who may not know, that's where the best bourbon in the world is made. He's been adjunct instructor at Maysville Community and Technical College. And he's a graduate of the University of Kentucky and with a bachelor's degree in science, agricultural, economics, and management. So his credentials are, as I said, not only outstanding, but we believe very suited to our region. And I'm sure Mallory's going to do a great job for us. Mallory, would you come up and say a couple of words to the council, please, sir?
Well, I just want to let you all know I'm excited to be here. My wife made me keep my U of L and my University of Kentucky stuff in Kentucky. I couldn't bring it with me. So you will not see UK basketball or any of that on me for a little while anyway, at least until the season starts. Really impressed with the things that are going on in Edenton. Major strides for a community this size. I'm just excited to be here, and I can't wait to get things happening and rolling. One thing I do want to add is my OU people will be very mad if you don't mention that I am a graduate of Oklahoma University in Economic Development.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The people in Norman are real proud of that. So, but I look forward to working with the council and members of the city. And, it's a great opportunity for me, and thank you for having me.
You're very well. Thanks for coming out tonight. Okay, now we can get back to the agenda that we're going to follow for the rest of the meeting, and we will have our committee meetings now, beginning with utilities chaired by Councilman Quinn.
Yes, sir. I've got a couple of things to talk about. First one is a recommendation to the council that we approve the engineering service agreement for the wastewater collection. We discussed that at some length at our last meeting and prior to that. Anne Marie, if you have any addition for that?
So unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions on the part of the council? Make a motion that we approve that.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the engineering services agreement just described. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. All right, that carries. Thank you.
The next item is a recommendation also to the council to approve an authorized agreement with the Red Zone, it's an organization that would be in charge of the sanitary sewer collection system. That's CCTV. And that too we discussed, and I would recommend that we approve that. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a second to the motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. All right, that carries as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from our administrative committee that is chaired by Councilman Biggs. And before Councilman Biggs gets started, there is an item that's coming before the council tonight that involves a potential conflict of interest for me. So under administrative committee item 1, I'm going to hand the gavel down to Councilman Stallings, who is our mayor pro tem, and he will call for the motion at the appropriate time.
Okay, Mayor, we have 3 items on the agenda tonight, and the one that you are relieving the gavel for is it is recommended that the council approve an agreement with Echo and Vaughn for creating a branding, communications brand for the town of Edenton. We have been talking about this for some time now, and there is absolutely no doubt that for the fees that are being charged, we are certainly getting a bargain, a basement bargain price on this, if I could. So I will certainly put in the form of a motion that we approve this as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that?
I'm just really excited we're doing it. I think Harris is going to, the mayor's son, is going to do the best job in the world, and I think we're really lucky they gave us this price, and I think we're lucky that, you know, we have people that grew up here, went away, and have done so well, and are coming back to help us.
That's great.
I've been working with Echo and Vaughn and Raleigh, putting this together, and would be obviously in favor of it. I think it's a great opportunity for us to unify our message and hopefully bring new people here and give our new partnership some breath of fresh air and a new view on Edenton as it reaches out, telling our story.
Any further discussion? Anybody else got anything? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Okay, number 2 is recommended that the council, approve membership into the Atlantic Intercoastal Waterway Association as presented. Again, we talked about this in committee, and it was, the membership's $150. Hopefully, the people coming down the waterways, the intercoastal waterways, when they get out by Pasquotank River or coming up the Alligator River, they'll hit our way, and this can only somewhat entice them to do it if they see our name at least in the membership book. Again, it's $150 a year, so we'll put that in the form of a motion.
Sir.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the membership with the Intercoastal Waterway Association. Any further questions, comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, no? All right.
And last but not least, it is recommended council approve and member to the personnel policy regarding compensation or compensatory time as presented. As we talked about in the committee meeting, our policy is not up to state standards for FLSA. They require that for every hour worked over 40 that that the employee would earn an hour and a half. So we need to change that policy, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend the personnel policy as Councilman Diggs just described. Any further questions, comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no?
And that does it for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Good stuff. All right. Next, we'll hear from our Finance Committee chaired by Councilman Dixon. Please, sir.
We have one thing on tonight, it's not very exciting. It's recommended that the council approve the travel request for the North Carolina League of Municipalities annual meeting as presented. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Motion and a second to approve travel request for the league's annual conference in Greenville this year.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Oh, did we get a second?
You did.
Thank you. All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no?
The Finance Committee.
Very good. All right, it brings us to new business, item 6 on the agenda tonight, and I'm going to ask Anne Marie to report, please, on these items, beginning with a long-anticipated report on the brewery and brew pub.
Mayor, happy to. Yesterday, September 11th, was the deadline that the council imposed to hear back from John Glover, the developer interested in purchasing the former Northeast Commission building, on his due diligence for the brewery project. Mr. Glover has been reviewing the proposed covenants and also flood-proofing options. Yesterday, in communication with Mr. Glover and his architect, we learned that there is a possible exemption to the flood-proofing requirements due to the building being historic. I spent most of the afternoon on the phone with numerous state officials, and our building inspector did the same. The building inspector serves as the town's floodplain administrator, and we were trying to confirm if a recent amendment to the North Carolina existing building code, which regulates how existing buildings, if are being renovated or if a use changes, the building inspectors follow in this new existing building code. But we were trying to determine whether or not the new existing building code trumps the town's flood ordinance requirements. And the Department of Insurance, which is the state agency that regulates the building code, told us that the owner of the building must apply for and receive a variance to the flood ordinance from the town's Board of Adjustment, that the town needs to make sure that the ordinance is complied with, and there is a provision for a variance through this building reuse code. I also spoke with officials with the North Carolina Department of Public Safety. That is the department that oversees the town's administration of the flood ordinance. And they confirmed that this variance is allowable and possible, but there is not clarity yet on how or what basis the Board of Adjustment would evaluate such a request for a variance. We're working with both of those agencies to obtain clarity and confirmation about a variance from the flood ordinance, and to make sure that the building is absolutely qualified for historic. I've reached out to the North Carolina Department of Cultural Resources, and they are assisting in evaluating the building reuse code also. So that's good news for the prospective owner, that there are some options that would help him. Also, Mr. Glover and his team have been reviewing the proposed covenants for the building. And as you know, the covenants include 18 separate provisions. So that is what has taken a lot of time, primarily the flood ordinance issue, but then the covenants as well. Mr. Glover informed me yesterday that he accepts the intent of 17 of the conditions and is ready to move forward in good faith with the next phase of the process, at which time, of course, we would have to have the attorney review and refine the language of the covenants to make sure it's acceptable. But the one covenant that is causing concern on behalf of Mr. Glover pertains to the process for, if needed, a change in the use of the building. And I fully appreciate that a person who's going to be investing the amount of money that this project will demand, in addition to the acquisition cost, that they want to evaluate long-term, what ifs, and if there were a potential change in use down the road, how would that change be permitted? And the town's Unified Development Ordinance has rules and regulations and processes in place for change of use. However, there's a provision in the UDO that allows for the Board of Adjustment to have jurisdiction over uses that otherwise are permissible with a zoning permit if the zoning administrator determines that the new proposed use were to pose peculiar traffic or other difficulties or is substantially unique. Mr. Glover is concerned that a judgment could be made as to whether or not a change in use has to go to another board. I think that working with our new planner and with our town attorney, that we could draft a covenant that will address this concern head on. And I think it would be a reasonable goal to try and have Hood and Elizabeth and I draft a prospective covenant that we could share with Mr. Glover within the next 2 weeks. And if we are able to reach consensus on that 18th covenant, then I think the next step would be a special meeting with the council and Mr. Glover to review the conceptual plans. I'm also working on a list of all of the approvals that will be required for the project, including the process that the council would have to go through to actually sell the property for redevelopment and then all of the regulatory approvals that are required. Possibly Board of Adjustment with the flood proofing issue, and then the Historic Preservation Commission, as well as plan review from staff. But my goal would be to have a clear and concise, step-by-step list of next steps for you to review and have in hand at this special meeting. And then finally, Councilman Biggs had requested that the questions posed earlier be responded to in writing by Mr. Glover. I had previously sent Mr. Glover a copy of those questions, but I will send the questions and the staff responses to him and ask that he respond in writing.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, yeah, I'll go open it up for, we will have a little bit of a committee meeting here on this because of the information that has been brought forward, particularly as it relates to some question about interpreting the regulations. So go ahead. Yes, sir.
I thought all this was supposed to be done by September 11th. Why are we extending it? Didn't we set a deadline that we were supposed to have all this information into us by September 11th?
My understanding was that he was to let us know one way or another by September 11th. There's no way he can have all this stuff together by September 11th.
2 years.
My directive was to tell Mr. Glover that he had 60 days to complete his due diligence and to report on whether or not he was going to move forward. And we have one kink, and I think that with some work with the planner and the attorney, we'll be able to hopefully address that.
But hasn't it been 2 years now?
It's been
2 years. Plus.
2.5.
So how much time are we gonna give to this?
Well, it becomes a matter of whether or not the council wants to follow through with this particular development. He's reached consensus with what has been asked of him on 17 out of 18 points. And there now is some question about the interpretation of the 18th, what are we calling?
Covenants.
Covenants, thank you. So,
But still, we voted for Mr. Quinn to have his questions asked. Whether the brewery came or not, we voted it down. Have you had your questions answered, Ken?
That's what we're talking about now. They're supposed to be coming. He's apparently agreed to all the questions presented, except has a concern with one that has to do with having to make another appearance for the finalizing a sale that he may wish to do in the future if he decided to move on and not do this.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but have your questions been answered?
I have not seen answers. I understand from town manager that there,
Let me just,
And wait a minute, hold on a second, please. Actually, let me answer your question. No, they haven't been answered. And there's a difference between the questions and the covenants. He's agreed to the 17 of the 18 covenants. He has not answered a question yet. I mean, just so
no, I
we'll,
haven't seen.
yeah, just so we'll understand, he himself has not answered a question. In short answer.
Mayor,
yeah.
on May 5th, 2016, I responded to a list of Councilman Quinn's questions. He wrote out a list of 12 questions. I answered those questions. And after Mr. Quinn reviewing those questions and you all reviewing those responses, the council voted to invite Mr. Glover to make a proposal. So that's when we went into the whole, we formulated the covenants based on all the work that you had done prior. You had drafted covenants for the almost 8 or 9 months prior. So the questions were posed to staff. Staff answered the questions, and then the council voted to agree to have Mr. Glover.
I don't particularly remember you wanting your questions answered by staff. I think some of them answered me.
If I may.
Some.
Yeah. Manager's right. I'm trying to remember too exactly the process, but we agreed to the covenants up to a certain number. I think we agreed to 12 covenants. I added a considerable number to it that we had discussed and thought were appropriate. But you're correct, as far as answers from Mr. Glover, we have not received. I think I'm correct in that.
Well, the questions the same ones that she just relayed?
As I understand, yes.
So what's the difference? I mean, the answers would be the same whether they were made, or is there, what am I missing?
I think there's a difference.
No, they were submitted, those covenants were submitted to Mr. Glover.
Yeah.
And
No, I wasn't talking about the
in
covenant.
his, what I understand today is that he has agreed to 17 of 18. But I haven't seen those, and I think that's Councilman Biggs' question. No,
Well, let me ask a question. Do we have anyone else that may show any interest in buying that building?
Because we took it off the market.
No, we didn't. Take it off the market.
Okay, who's been marketing it? Not a soul, not a single real estate agent in this town has been marketing it, and nor have we.
And never
Nor has-
was. Never was from day one.
Well, it had
To
to
my
be
knowledge.
marketed, sure it did. Destination Downtown marketed it.
But you said a real estate agent.
That's right.
There's no real
Okay,
estate.
excuse me. Destination Downtown has quit marketing it also.
But if someone were interested in it, I suspect they would make a phone call and check on it, would they not?
You know, how do you know that if no one's marketing, how does anyone know that it's available?
That's true.
I think we need to just wait 60 days and see if we can get this worked out. Yeah, I guess I'll put that before the motion.
What I'm saying is, we voted this thing down one time before. We only voted yes to get Mr. Quinn questions answered. Now, I'm getting hammered from the people in my section. Why are we spending so much time on a pub? And nobody's saying anything about a grocery store.
I beg your pardon. I think the mayor will back me up on this.
Mhm.
The partnership has worked overtime. Ms. Knighton has worked overtime, trying to get a grocery store here. A lot of people have busted their butts trying to get a grocery store here. We hired an
Well, I'm
outfit.
saying-
Let me finish, please.
Let me finish. What I'm saying, the people out there do not know the work that's been done.
It's been in the paper, Elton.
But they
It's
do.
been everywhere that we have busted our butts to try to get a grocery store here.
But what they're saying is that they feel that over 3 years now, 3.5 years, that there's been plenty of time for us to come. This is what's been said to me. That they feel,
Listen, I hear it as well, but we cannot force a grocery store to come here. Emery, would you please enlighten us as to how many grocery stores that we have contacted and tried to get here to come here, but no one has shown any interest in coming here, except Piggly Wiggly? They want to come here badly, but they don't have a place to come. They want to go in the old food line, but the old food line has renegotiated their contract. They're paying a premium every month.
I'm just seeing what the people that I
If you've got a
represent.
problem, you need to have a solution to it.
No, I'm just saying what they're asking me
Yeah.
and what they're telling me. I just keep telling them that we're working on it. This is the time for a statement to be made so that they can understand what's going on out there, because I can't answer their questions.
Well, what I would like is at our next meeting, I will have, I'll ask Mallory to come and we'll have a full report of all that we've done on the grocery store. I cannot sit here on the top of my head and list all of, I'll leave something out and it won't be a complete report, but it certainly is time for us to update you on the work that we've been doing, and I'll be glad to do that.
Okay, that's all they ask.
Seriously, you know, there's a lot, there is been a lot of work done. Bob, you're on the partnership, Mayor's on the partnership. There's been a lot of work done, trust me, trying to get another grocery store. My wife drives to Plymouth to buy meats. That's how bad it is.
You know, well, like I said, I'm not saying that the work hasn't been done, but the public don't know this, and they need to be updated on it.
Okay, I'm gonna redirect this conversation back to what we want to do with Mr. Glover and his status at this point in time.
And I made a motion.
And the motion has been made that he be given 60 days, and that would be
To work out all the details, if you can. Flood and the 17th, or the one amendment, or one cover.
okay,
60 days, in 60 days, if we, you know,
Point of question there, if I may.
Sure.
You're talking about what has to be done.
Any opposed? No? Very good. Final item.
That this policy outlines the procurement policies that the town will follow administering the grant, and the distribution policy. I think that has to do with materials and supplies. The finance agency has reviewed these policies and they have met their approval, so now you need to formally adopt these.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further questions, comments? All in favor, aye? Any opposed, no? Thank you very much. All right, that concludes new business. We move now to items timely and important. Council members, anything you want to bring before your colleagues this evening?
Mayor, I don't get asked much anymore, as much as Councilman Bond does, I guess, about the grocery store. I don't know if a lot of people just give up or what the deal is, but I do get asked a lot about the hotel, if we have any updates on that at all. And also Town Hall, if we have any updates on either one of those.
With the hotel, we're actually going to be meeting with the principals and representatives from the hotel. We've asked them to come to Edenton next week to meet with us, to go over where they are, what they're doing, what the timetable is. We're under some pressure from the state for a grant that we've received, and we need to get a clear sense of the path forward. So that
Could we also ask them to come to the next council meeting and give the same presentation?
Sure, based on the outcome of our meeting,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
They came before the Preservation Commission recently, so I'm sure they'd be happy to do that. And with Town Hall, Councilman, you know that a couple months ago, I did report to you that we had turned the SMA situation over to the attorney, the town attorney, and that he had spoken with some stockholders, and that the SMA, as we knew, does not exist anymore. The software upon which SMA relied upon in dealing with the state and the town has not met the goals that were expected. But some successor investors are looking to merge SMA with another company and move forward with different software, but Edenton and North Carolina are not in the picture. The town attorney is working with these investors, trying to unwind the transactions and recoup funds that were expended in anticipation of SMA's move to Edenton. At this point, you know, it's in the matter of the attorney, and based on the potential for the litigation, I really can't say much more than that, other than I know all of you are very, very disappointed.
Can we start marketing that building?
We certainly can. And as a matter of fact, Jennifer and I have been talking about potential prospects and clients.
And it won't interfere with the litigation?
I'll run it by Hood, but I don't think so.
Okay, good question. Anyone else at the council table have anything they'd like to bring forward?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I would like for our manager to comment on a trip that she made in Raleigh today and the outcome of that, please, ma'am.
The council had asked me to attend the Council of State meeting in Raleigh this morning. The lease agreement, or the amended lease for the DOT space at the airport terminal building was formally approved by the Council of State today. So I'll be calling DOT in the morning to find out when they'll be issuing the check for the back rent that they owe us.
That's good news.
That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's another 2-year project, guys.
Good, you say build a tower.
If we need to, we'll drive Raleigh and pick up that check.
I'm going tomorrow. Anything else? All right, we'll move on to public comments. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your opportunity to rise and address the town council on any subject that you might want to bring to our attention or offer some comments about. So the floor is open for public comment. We do ask that comments be confined to a 3-minute period. We'll be sensitive to that, but also sensitive to what's being said at the time. But anyway, there's a monitor over here that will give you some idea of the time remaining. So with that bit of housekeeping, floor is open. All we ask is that you state your name, and we'll be happy to hear from you.
Good evening, I'm O'Neil Larry. My husband and I live up on North Broad Street. And we were flooded from Matthew. We were flooded again from the storm on the 24th of June. And I was wondering if you all have a time length that you plan, to clean out the storm drain coming down from the fire department through to Freemason, because that's the area that is flooded.
I will check with our new public works director. We'll review what storm drains have been cleaned to date and look at what still is yet to be done, and be happy to share that with you. Corey and I are supposed to meet tomorrow.
Well, we would really appreciate it, because we get a bad storm in here. We do not need to be flooded for a third time.
We've done a lot of cleaning of the storm drain grates in the area where the flooding occurred. But we'll go back and document and be happy to share with you what's been accomplished and what the schedule will be to complete the work.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Good evening, my name is Beatrice Stanley, and I just want to ask a couple of questions about the Oakham Street project. I know that the jail is finished, it's beautiful from the outside. Not had the opportunity to go inside yet. But the rest of Oakham Street is still dilapidated houses. There are, people are not living in, and they've been like that for years. And I just wanted to know what are we doing next as the revitalization of Oakham Street?
And I'm so happy that Elizabeth Bryant is back with us, and she and I will be meeting, reviewing the next priorities. The council approved the purchase of 2 properties, not directly on Oakham Street, but in the Oakham Street corridor that are part of the redevelopment zone. And as a matter of fact, we got the purchase contracts today from the attorney, so 2 houses will be turning over shortly. But Elizabeth and I will be targeting the next round of houses, and I will hope to be able to report to the council what those priorities are at our upcoming committee meeting.
Okay, and just last week, I was walking my great-granddaughter out down Freemason Street, and I see that there's one of those signs in front of one of the houses, which is the Halsey House. But there are also a couple of other houses on that street as well that needs to be torn down or redone or something, and that the grass in the sidewalks are just growing right over the cracks and everything. So is there any plans to address those issues?
Certainly, we'll look at the houses around that 100 block of East Freemason, and then we'll ask Public Works to look at the sidewalks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Add something.
Sure.
I just think that if you look at some of the progress that's happening right now on East Church Street, that the Miles Batten building sold, has been redone, the house beside it is sold and has been redone, and then the very historic house that is the McNider House, which is sort of across from St. John's Church, has been purchased by an investor, and they're getting ready to redo that. And then I think St. John's Church is also scheduled for a major, renovation. And so I think things are, this corridor we have created is really starting to work. And it's my hope that East Gale Street is the next one, because some of those historic buildings in town are the Batten buildings, and they're in some of the worst shape. And so it's my hope that they're all getting ready to be restored.
Yes, ma'am.
I have 2 questions. First of all, last month at the committee meeting, it was mentioned that the population of Edenton is still dropping. Are there any reasons in particular that this is still happening, and what can be done about it? And also, unfortunately, we have lost our movie theater. And the town, I think, is leasing that equipment to the theater. Is that the way it was worked out? Now, what's going to become of that equipment, and is there any possibility to bring that theater back?
We can talk about population.
Sure.
You're exactly right, population is declining, and that is one of the reasons why the council pursued the plan to develop a branding and communications program to attract new residents. The council wants families with children, they want retirees, they want everybody. We need to replace the population that is lost. Why are we losing population? There are a lot of reasons why. Such as the economy. We lost a lot of people when the industry shut down. A lot of people had to leave to find jobs elsewhere. And we have a lot of inventory of housing available, and we need to try and attract more people to come, like you and your husband did, to come here and live and re-energize and reoccupy the houses. But that is a #1 priority, the council's vision statement, and practically every vision statement that was talked about evolved around growing the town's population. In terms of the movie theater, you're right, the town owns the equipment because the community bought the equipment. The equipment is secured. We have inspected it several times. We actually have the key to it. It is stored in the movie projection room. We're in touch with the company that maintains it. We're actually paying for the monthly Wi-Fi to make sure that the equipment gets the monthly updates. I can tell you that the equipment is safe and secure. And Mayor, is it okay for Jennifer to
Sure.
talk about what DDE is doing?
Absolutely, yeah, we discussed it this morning at the board meeting.
Well, we put an update on Facebook yesterday that DDE wants the theater reopened just as much as anybody else, and we're doing everything we can We're working with a potential buyer. The property owner has said he's willing to sell. And the potential buyer is doing their due diligence. They're getting cost estimates for repairs that need to be made and upgrades that they would like to do. So like anything, unfortunately, it takes time. It's taken just a couple of weeks, or at least a week, to get the estimates together. So we're moving forward. We're doing the best we can. We think it's a good opportunity for the future, and we're very hopeful. So we're trying. We do.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
May I say one more thing? I think that one thing we need to point out also is the hard work that the partnership has done trying to get a retirement home here. And so I think a lot of our population decline is attributable to people having to go other places to grow old. And so that has been, so if we can fill that void with, with a retirement home, it'd be great. So I think they're working